This is not the trip to China that Donald Trump thought it was going to be, as Xi Jinping insulted Donald Trump intentionally by not showing up to greet Trump when Air Force One arrived in China. Now Donald Trump has gone absolutely silent. For the past 16 hours, he's said nothing. He has posted nothing. His last post was bragging about seeing the all-powerful Xi Jinping and how excited he was that Xi Jinping was going to greet him, and Trump said he was going to bring all of these American CEOs. Instead, we saw Donald Trump struggle down the Air Force One steps, step by step. Seemed like a Herculean task for the ailing, frail, weak, and elderly Donald Trump. Iranian media posted the following as Donald Trump's arrival in China was nothing short of a disaster. There were some lower level ministers from China there to greet Trump. There was also a group of school children there, which I think was done by Xi Jinping to troll Donald Trump. Iranian media said the following: the aircraft carrying the president of the terrorist American government arrived in Beijing, the capital of China, moments ago. As noted earlier today as well, the Chinese state-run media by and large ignored Donald Trump's visit. The main story in the China Daily was the Sino-Tajikistan relationship. That was the front page. Sino-Tajik ties enter a new phase. Then if you look on the right column, it says Xi navigates China-U.S. relations amid global uncertainty. He has to navigate it because Trump is a difficult tyrant and authoritarian. That's the message that they were sending right there. I mean, Trump has been utterly humiliated so far, and all of the CEOs are seeing how pathetic Donald Trump looks right now, as Trump looks like he's begging. On Chinese media, so China Daily, that was at least written in English. In the Chinese media, they write, there's no stories of Donald Trump's arrival. And this, as we're also learning this morning, get this, Chinese companies are now discussing major new arms deal sales to Iran, explicitly ignoring Donald Trump's letter to Xi before his arrival that he should not allow arm transfers, with Xi replying that he was not doing so. And then the Chinese companies, as Trump arrived, said, we're cutting all of these deals with Iran. I just want you to think about the message this is sending. Trump brings all of these American CEOs with him to cut deals with Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping doesn't show up or hasn't met with Donald Trump yet. And instead, the Chinese companies start cutting deals right now while Trump is there with Iran. China plans to route the weapons through third countries with the goal of masking origins. A previous $5 billion Chinese weapons delivery to Iran included a lot of critical weaponry that Iran needed, one of which is suspected of downing the U.S. F-15E over Iran on April 3rd. Also, Iran then signaling to China, thank you, Xi. We appreciate you. So right ahead of Trump's Xi summit, Iran just granted more than 10 Chinese ships, including those very large container ships, the VLCCs, those oil tankers, permission to transit the Strait of Hormuz just in the past 48 hours through its Persian Gulf Strait Authority, preempting any U.S. attempt to use China as leverage on Iran during the summit, aka checkmate. So Iran recognized that Donald Trump would try to cut some deal with Xi Jinping to say, let me help you get the Chinese tankers out. So Iran said, nope. You want to do some weapons deals with us, China? We'll let your VLCCs, those very large ships, those tankers and cargo ships out. And then by the way, all of this was choreographed last week. Remember we were telling you on the MeidasTouch network exactly what was going to happen when Foreign Minister Araghchi from Iran visited Beijing and met with his counterpart Wang Yi. We said they were setting this up right here to humiliate Donald Trump the way they are right now. With China receiving 50% of its oil through Hormuz, Xi can now tell Trump that Chinese ships are transiting while the Hormuz crisis is Donald Trump's crisis right now. I'll show you more about what Iran's doing in just a moment. But back here on the home front, you have like Donald Trump silent, and he's left He's left Vance. He's left MAGA Mike holding the bag, basically. And so moments ago, you had Vance at a press conference asked, so do you, Trump just left to China right now. Do you agree with Donald Trump's position that Americans' financial condition should not be any consideration at all right now, that we shouldn't care one bit about Americans' financial condition? Is that what your regime believes? And Vance is like, I don't think he said that. He did say that. Here, play this clip.
Thank you. And can I ask you, Mr. Vice President, when approaching the war with Iran, do you agree with the president's position that Americans' financial situations should not be a consideration in that decision-making process?
Well, I don't think the president said that. I think that's a misrepresentation of what the president said. But look, I agree with the president that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We're obviously engaged in a very aggressive and very engaged diplomatic process to try to ensure that that doesn't happen. And the president has a lot of options.
By the way, same thing, MAGA Mike Johnson. In Trump's silence, these MAGA sycophants in D.C. are falling apart. MAGA Mike Johnson asked the same question. I don't know the context. Here, play this clip of MAGA Mike Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, the president was asked about whether Americans' financial concerns were motivating him to make a deal with Iran. His response was, I don't think about Americans' financial situations. Do you think that's the right message? Do you think the president should be considering the financial toll?
I don't know the context in which he made that comment, but I can tell you the president thinks about Americans' financial situations. I talk to him on average twice a day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, and we talk about it constantly. He's laser focused on trying to resolve the conflict in Iran, because if we get the Strait of Hormuz, when we get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, that will alleviate a lot of pressure with gas prices and other things in the economy. Now, we've done everything.
All right, more of that in a moment, but let's talk about what Iran is doing as well. So right now, you've also had this major meeting of BRICS nations to counter Trump's China meeting, and China is sending its high-level officials to this BRICS meeting to meet with Iran. So Iran Foreign Minister Araghchi just landed in Delhi, India for the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa foreign ministers meeting amidst the ongoing but stalled U.S.-Iran negotiations. Per reports and assessments from a number of subject matter experts, Iran is expected to push for a joint statement from the Chinese-led economic bloc in support of Iranian interests. Do you see what happened? Do we all see what's happening here? So China sending its top-level foreign ministers to a BRICS meeting in India. Donald Trump destroyed America's relationship with India. We know that. You have this BRICS meeting taking place. And while Donald Trump is flailing right now in China, what may come out of this BRICS meeting is a joint statement supportive of Iran right now. And do you remember last week when Donald Trump was supposed to have that meeting with President Lula of Brazil, but Lula didn't want to be in public with Donald Trump because he knows that Donald Trump's conduct and behavior is so despicable? Well, now you have Brazil there, and this is where the center of the action is taking place at this BRICS meeting. So do you see how China right now, from all angles, has already utilized like a plan in order to kind of downplay Trump's visit, focus on their other priorities? And Trump is too stupid to realize what's going on because he just so desperately wants to be around Xi Jinping. Look, if you were an American president and you were planning a visit like this, you would have to factor all of these things out. There would be months and months and months, perhaps even years of dialogue before the meeting to make sure that this type of embarrassment, that these types of things did not happen, because it already is further showing how weak the U.S. is approaching China from the ultimate position of weakness right now. What else is Iran posting? One of Iran's parliament leaders who handles national security issues, Abraham Azizi, here's what he just posted as well to coincide with Donald Trump's trip to China. Step by step, they're surgically tearing Donald Trump apart. This is what they just posted in the Iranian parliament. In the session of Parliament National Security Commission, a report was presented by the head of the Atomic Energy Organization, indicating that our beloved Iran stands strong and powerful. All of us, together with Dr. Aslami, agreed that Iran's right to uranium enrichment must be preserved. In other words, they're taking any negotiations regarding enrichment of uranium, nuclear materials, the nuclear file. That's not even under discussion anymore, is what Iran's saying, because Iran is saying, we believe we won the war. While Donald Trump has gone silent, Iran's social media is on a tear calling out Donald Trump. They're taking all of his social media posts from the past 24 hours before he went silent and was humiliated in Beijing, and they're posting things like this, where Donald Trump randomly posted, "I want you." They edited the image a little bit, and then they have Donald Trump saying, "We want you dead." Whereas Donald Trump made a post of his face on the $100 bill. Iran changed the $100 bill into a $1 bill, rather. And Iran says, "Top picture reality, bottom picture an impossible dream. And the reality is Trump as a clown on a $1 bill." Then Iran posted this image of a snail on a sharp blade. On the edge of a sharp blade and still too slow to learn. And the snail is Donald Trump, is a Donald Trump snail. And then Iran comments on the Trump regime's post. The Defense Department posted an AI image of an Iranian Shahed drone. And I kid you not, this is what Trump's Defense Department writes. "American warfighters will always have the technological edge." American flag, American innovation. And it's a photo of an Iranian Shahed drone, to which Iran responds, "Yeah, this innovation that is supposed to give American warmongers the technological edge is a knockoff of the Iranian Shahed design, only weaker." So think about the weak signals that Donald Trump is sending. Meanwhile, U.S. oil prices surge towards $104 a barrel as these talks between the U.S. and Iran have stalled, as Iran is now working directly with China behind Donald Trump's back. This data came out, the Kobayashi letter reported as well. U.S. household debt jumped $18 billion in quarter one of 2026 to a record $18.8 trillion. Total household debt surged to $4.6 trillion since January 2020. This increase is driven by mortgage debt, which rose $21 billion to a record $13.2 trillion. Auto loans jumped to $18 billion to $1.7 trillion, also at an all-time high. Meanwhile, credit card debt declined $25 billion to $1.3 trillion, the second highest on record. Student loan balances falling $6 billion to $1.7 trillion, also still the second highest on record right there. I also want to leave you with this right here. This is kind of Vance's closing remarks as Donald Trump has gone silent. He's left to talk about the ballroom, the golden ballroom costing $1 billion. Here's what Vance says. Let's play it.
Done in a good way. I will say the President of the United States is a very good builder. And the reason why this is expensive is not because of the ballroom. The reason this is expensive is because of the security precautions necessary, things that have nothing to do with the ballroom itself, but have to do with the actual security infrastructure on the White House. We saw a couple of weeks ago what can happen when you gather the President of the United States and a number of people who are in the line of succession in the same room. We almost had something very terrible happen. And thanks to the Secret Service and their incredibly quick response, we didn't have a terrible thing happen. But one of the things it's taught us is that we've got to update. And there are things, frankly, I wouldn't even talk about in a public forum.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So help us get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.